Hey there. Ever feel like you're just on this treadmill, you know?
Ye
Working, 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 but not really getting anywhere meaningful.
Yeah.
Today we're going to take a deep dive into this idea of the work of life.
Okay.
It's not about your job.
Right.
It's not about your to-do list. It's something much deeper.
I like it.
We've got some fascinating excerpts from a video
Oh, cool.
by Accepting the Universe to unpack.
Absolutely. This creator starts with a really compelling story about rescuing a dog,
Oh, wow.
a severely underweight dog who had just given birth.
Yeah, it took him and his wife an entire day to rescue her.
Wow.
So imagine dedicating that much time and energy not to a career goal,
Hmm.
but to simply helping a creature in need.
Right.
That act of selfless service really sets the stage for his whole philosophy.
It's interesting how he uses this experience to contrast the work of life with the work we do in our careers
Right.
or for financial gain,
Uh-huh.
things that he labels as profane work.
Yeah.
He's not saying those things are bad.
Right. It's more like they can become a problem when they completely overshadow our personal growth.
Yes.
It's like we're so busy chasing external achievements that we forget about cultivating the qualities that actually make us better human beings.
Exactly. He defines the work of life as striving to be more honest, just, kind, and empathetic,
Okay.
aligning ourselves with reason and virtue, basically.
And this isn't about becoming some kind of saint,
Right,
right?
yeah.
It's a constant process of trying to become more aware of our shortcomings and then actively working on them.
Yes, like a continuous self-improvement project.
Uh-huh.
And he argues that this work of life is actually the foundation for success in all areas,
Okay.
even those more profane ones.
He uses this really interesting analogy of a pilot.
Okay?
Wouldn't you feel safer knowing your pilot was not only skilled at flying,
Sure.
but also deeply invested in becoming a better person?
Hmm.
Someone who sees you as a human being, not just a passenger.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
It suggests that someone with a broader perspective, someone who prioritizes personal growth,
Mm-hmm.
is likely to excel in everything they do.
Right.
They bring more depth to their work and their relationships because they're constantly working on themselves.
So what makes this work of life so different from, say, busting your butt to get a promotion?
Well, he stresses that it's not about chasing external rewards.
Okay.
It's about the inherent value of becoming a better person.
Hmm.
The reward is the growth itself.
That's a really interesting distinction.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make it harder to stay motivated? I mean, if there's no trophy or bonus at the end?
I see.
Why?
He actually addresses that. He believes the motivation should come from within.
Okay.
It's about aligning your actions with your values, even when no one's watching.
Uh-huh.
It's about becoming the kind of person you can truly respect.
It reminds me of the saying, be the change you want to see in the world. You start with yourself.
Exactly.
So how does this connect to the dog rescue story? Was caring for the dog part of his work of life?
He saw it as an unexpected opportunity for growth.
Okay.
He had to practice patience, overcome anxieties,
Mhm.
and basically stretch beyond his comfort zone to care for this dog and her puppies.
Wow.
It became an exercise in empathy, even though it wasn't something he initially planned.
That's really cool. It shows that the work of life can pop up in the most unexpected places.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to join a monastery or anything.
Right.
It's about being open to these little moments of growth that life throws at you.
He actually calls them opportunities to be ashamed of yourself if you don't take them.
Oh, wow.
But on the flip side, they can be incredible chances to push past your perceived limitations and practice those virtues he keeps talking about.
Okay, so we've got this idea of work of life versus profane work.
Hmm?
But where does leisure fit into all of this?
Hmm.
It seems like he considers leisure to be pretty important.
Yes, very important.
And this is where he recommends a book called Leisure, The Basis of Culture. But before we dive into that,
Okay.
I'm curious, from what we've discussed so far, what stands out to you about this idea of the work of life?
What's fascinating is that it flips the script on how we typically view success. It's not about what you achieve outwardly,
Right.
but about the inner work you do that then impacts everything else. It's about building a foundation of character and virtue that spills over into every aspect of your life.
I love that. It's like saying, hey, your inner world matters just as much, if not more, than your outer achievements.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where the concept of leisure comes in.
Okay.
But to unpack that a bit more,
Yeah.
we need to look at what Josef Pieper has to say about it.
All right, let's take a quick pause to absorb all of this.
All right?
And when we come back, we'll explore how leisure can be an active part of this work of life rather than just vegging out on the couch.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
So we're back, and I'm really curious about this whole leisure thing.
Most of us think of leisure as the opposite of work,
Right.
like kicking back, relaxing, maybe watching some TV.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like this video creator and the author he recommends, Josef Pieper,
Yeah.
have a totally different take on it.
You're right. It's not about being lazy or unproductive.
Okay.
Piper actually argues that leisure is the foundation of culture.
Interesting.
It's about creating space for deeper engagement with the world around us.
So what does that look like in practice? I mean, does that mean we all need to start collecting rare stamps or learning to play the harpsichord?
Not necessarily. It's more about shifting our mindset.
Okay.
Piper believes leisure is about being receptive contemplative. It's about stepping away from the demands of profane work
Okay.
and creating space for things that nourish the soul and expand our understanding.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this ties into the work of life.
Yeah.
It's not just about being a good person in your actions,
Right.
but also creating space to cultivate your inner world.
Exactly. Think about it. When do you have your best ideas? When do you have those moments of clarity where you see things from a new perspective?
Yeah.
It's often when you're not actively working, when you're allowing your mind to wander, to make connections.
Like when you're taking a walk in nature or listening to music,
Exactly.
you're not necessarily doing anything,
Right.
but your mind is engaged, making connections, maybe even processing some of those work of life challenges we were talking about earlier.
That's a great example. And remember the dog rescue story.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't planned, caring for that dog became a form of leisure for the creator. It took him out of his routine and forced him to be present, to practice patience and empathy in a way that he probably wouldn't have if he had just stuck to his regular schedule.
It's interesting to think that even something like taking care of a pet can be a form of leisure if you approach it with the right mindset.
Yeah.
It's not just about checking off a to-do list item. It's about being fully present in the experience and allowing it to change you.
And that's where the concept of virtue comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about doing good deeds,
Right.
but cultivating those inner qualities, honesty, kindness, justice, courage, that inform our actions in every area of life.
Yeah.
Leisure in this context becomes a way to nurture those virtues.
So it's like we need both.
Yes.
The outward actions of the work of life
Mhm.
and the inner cultivation that happens through true leisure.
Exactly. It's a beautiful cycle.
Yeah, I like that.
And remember, the creator emphasizes that the work of life isn't about seeking external rewards.
Right.
It's about the inherent value of becoming a better person.
Right. He says it will start providing for you.
Yeah.
But he doesn't mean financially, right?
Oh,
It's more like the personal growth you achieve will naturally flow into other areas of your life.
precisely. It's about cultivating inner qualities that then radiate outwards.
Okay.
Think about someone who's truly at peace with themselves.
Hmm.
That sense of peace is contagious. It influences how they interact with others, how they approach their work, even how they handle challenges.
It makes me think about the difference between someone who's driven by ego and someone who's driven by a deeper sense of purpose. The ego-driven person is always striving for external validation, always worried about what others think.
Right.
But the person who's grounded in their values and focused on their own growth,
Yeah.
they radiate a different kind of energy.
Yes. And they're less likely to get caught up in the comparison game or feel threatened by others' success
Right.
because their focus is inward on becoming the best version of themselves.
That's so powerful. It takes the pressure off needing to prove yourself to the world.
Yeah.
But I imagine this work of life isn't always easy.
Right.
I mean, we all have those moments where we give in to temptation or make choices that we later regret.
Absolutely. It's a continuous process, not a destination.
Yeah.
There are going to be times when we fall short, when we make mistakes. But the key is to learn from those experiences and keep striving to align our actions with our values.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
And I think that's actually really encouraging.
Yeah.
It means we don't need to wait until we're somehow perfect to start engaging in this work of life.
Exactly. And the creator emphasizes that the more we engage in this work, the more those virtuous qualities become ingrained in us, almost like habits.
He uses a really powerful phrase. it will start providing for you.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying that the more you invest in your inner growth, the more it will support and sustain you in every area of your life.
It's like building a strong foundation for a house.
Okay.
If the foundation is solid, the house can withstand storms and challenges. But if the foundation is weak, the whole structure is at risk.
That's a great analogy. And it makes me think about how this idea of the work of life can be applied not just to individuals, but also to organizations and even society as a whole.
That's a great point.
If we prioritize inner growth, ethical conduct, and a commitment to serving something larger than ourselves, imagine the positive ripple effects that could create.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
It goes back to that idea of interconnectedness we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Right.
The more individuals who engage in this work of life, the more we raise the collective consciousness, so to speak. And that can lead to more ethical businesses, more just laws, and a more compassionate society overall.
It's almost like shifting the focus from what's in it for me to how can I contribute to something larger than myself.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of something bigger. And that our actions, both big and small, have an impact on the world around us.
So this work of life isn't just about personal fulfillment.
Right.
It's about creating a better world for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring to think that even small acts of kindness, honesty, and courage can contribute to that larger goal.
And remember, the creator isn't suggesting that we all need to quit our jobs and become full-time philanthropists.
Right.
It's about bringing that work-of-life mentality into everything we do, even the most mundane tasks.
Like choosing to be honest in a business deal, even when it might be tempting to cut corners.
Yeah.
Or standing up for what's right, even when it's unpopular.
Right.
Or simply listening with empathy to a friend who's going through a tough time.
Yes. It's about those everyday choices that reflect our commitment to becoming better people.
It's about the intention behind our actions, not just the actions themselves.
Exactly. And the beauty of this work of life is that it's available to everyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of our background, our circumstances, or our current level of virtue.
It's a journey we can all embark on one step at a time.
Yeah.
And while the creator acknowledges that it can be challenging at times,
Right.
he also emphasizes the deep sense of fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with our values.
And he suggests that this work of life is ultimately more rewarding than any external achievement or material possession, because it's about becoming the kind of person we can truly be proud of.
It's about finding that inner peace and contentment that comes from knowing we're living a life of purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the why of this work of life.
Right.
But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the how. What are some practical steps we can take to start integrating this into our daily lives?
That's a great question. And I think it's important to remember that this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
We don't need to have all the answers or try to change everything overnight.
Small steps can lead to big changes over time.
Absolutely. So maybe we could start by simply becoming more aware of our choices.
Okay.
Before we act, we can pause and ask ourselves, is this action aligned with my values? Is this contributing to my work of life, or is it taking me further away from it?
I love that. It's about bringing more consciousness to our decisions, big and small.
Exactly.
And what about the role of leisure?
Yes.
How can we make sure we're incorporating that in a way that supports our work of life?
That's where things get really interesting. And that's what we'll explore in more detail right after a quick break.
All right, so we're back. And before we wrap up this deep dive into the work of life,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to that idea of leisure being a key part of the process.
Okay.
It sounds like it's not just about relaxing or taking a break.
Right.
It's a more active, intentional kind of leisure.
You got it. It's not about zoning out in front of the TV.
Yeah,
Although, hey, sometimes we need that too.
for sure.
But when we're talking about leisure as part of the work of life, it's about engaging with the world in a way that nourishes our souls
Okay.
and helps us connect with those deeper values.
Okay, so give me an example. What does that kind of leisure look like in real life?
Well, think about activities that allow you to step away from the daily grind and tap into something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
It could be spending time in nature,
Okay.
reading a thought-provoking book, listening to music that moves you,
Okay.
having a deep conversation with a friend.
Right. Or even just sitting quietly and reflecting.
So it's about creating space for those activities that help us connect with our inner selves,
Yeah.
the things that remind us of what truly matters.
Exactly. And remember, the creator emphasizes that this Work of life is not about achieving some kind of perfect state.
Right.
It's an ongoing journey of growth and self-discovery. Leisure, in this context, becomes a way to fuel that journey.
It's like taking a step back from the busyness of life to gain a fresh perspective,
Yeah.
to recharge our batteries and to reconnect with our values.
And that renewed sense of purpose and clarity can then flow back into our profane work,
Right,
our
yeah.
relationships, and all the other areas of our lives.
It's like a virtuous cycle.
Yes.
The work of life informs our leisure, and our leisure, in turn, supports and nourishes our work of life.
It's a beautiful synergy.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that dog rescue story again.
Oh, yeah.
The creator didn't set out that day thinking, I need to find an opportunity to practice virtue.
It just happened.
Yeah.
He was open to the experience, and it became a chance for him to connect with those qualities of patience, compassion, and courage.
It's a great reminder that these opportunities for work of life can pop up anywhere, anytime.
Absolutely.
We just need to be present and willing to interact with them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's what I find so empowering about this whole concept.
Yeah.
It's not about following some rigid set of rules.
Right.
Or striving for an unattainable ideal. It's about making conscious choices day by day, moment by moment,
Right.
that align with our values and contribute to our growth as human beings.
It's about recognizing that we all have the capacity for growth.
Yeah.
And that we can choose to cultivate that capacity through both our actions and our leisure.
It's about becoming more intentional in how we spend our time and energy, both in work and in leisure.
It's about remembering that true fulfillment comes not from external achievements alone,
Right.
but from the ongoing journey of becoming the best versions of ourselves.
And that journey is something we can all embark on regardless of our circumstances or our past experiences.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what are you walking away with? What resonated with you most about this idea of the work of life?
What strikes me is how it shifts the focus from external validation to internal growth. It's a reminder that true success is not measured by our bank account balance
Right.
or our social media following, but by the quality of our character and the impact we have on the world.
And it's not about becoming some kind of superhuman or achieving some impossible standard of perfection.
No.
It's about those small everyday choices that reflect our commitment to becoming better people.
Yeah.
It's about striving to live a life of meaning and purpose, even amidst the chaos and uncertainty of the world.
Beautifully said. It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in making the world a better place.
Yeah.
And that starts with the work we do on ourselves.
I love that. So to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We hope it's given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to think about how you can integrate the work of life into your own journey.
Remember, it's not about grand gestures or overnight transformations.
Right.
It's about those small, consistent steps we take each day to become more honest, more kind, more courageous, more fully ourselves.
And if you're interested in exploring these ideas further, we'll be sure to include a link to Josef Pieper's book, Leisure, The Basis of Culture, in the show notes.
Yes.
It's a fascinating read that really dives deep into the importance of leisure as a foundation for personal and societal growth.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
See ya.